You ever have one of those mornings where you step outside, just wanting a little peace, and all you get is trouble flapping in the wind? Yeah. That was me, right there on my porch, holding a wrinkled yellow notice from the Westfield Ridge HOA, heart pounding like I'd just been handed a death sentence instead of some stupid code violation. The thing was barely hanging on my fence, but the words 72 hours to tear down all unauthorized structures, or else man, those words stuck to my brain like peanut butter to the roof of your mouth. Not signed by any city official, just the busybodies in the HOA who figured themselves the emperors of suburbia. I mean, you know that feeling when life's about to get real complicated, real fast. The part they didn't know this land's been in my family for 4 generations. My granddad built the house after the war. My dad put up that old red barn when I was a kid, and last spring I added a greenhouse and a chicken coop. Maybe not textbook perfect, but nobody complained until Diane Langford got a bee in her bonnet. 3 days after that notice, with a little digging through ancient county records and some help from my buddy, Mark the man knows real estate law, like most folks know their Netflix passwords, I dropped a bomb on the HOA. Turns out their precious clubhouse, the gym, the tennis courts, yeah, all that was built smack dab on land, leased from my family for $1 a year on some ancient 99-year lease which had just expired. So, while they tried to threaten me with bulldozers, I handed them a lease renewal at 3 times the rent. The look on Diane's face, Lord, she looked like she'd just bit into a lemon. Let me back up a sec. I'm Travis Carter, 41, run a 12-acre ranch right on the edge of Westfield Ridge, Pinewood County, Colorado. Chickens, bees, horses, the whole 9 yards. I give lessons to kids on weekends, try to keep life simple. Or I used to anyway, until Diane and her clipboard showed up with her silent husband Howard in tow, poking around my place, sniffing for rule violations like it was some kind of sport. She actually complained about my rooster Billy, proud Rhode Island red crowing at dawn. Told me my chickens weren't approved. Wondered if my fence was up to code. I told her, straight up, I'm not even in your HOA. You ever see someone's eye twitch so hard you start to worry for their health? That was Diane. It didn't end there. The real spark came when I put on this little fundraiser pony rides, lemonade, barbecue for the local kids. Sarah Morgan, single mom from the HOA, brought her daughter Abby, who'd been fighting leukemia. Quietest kid you ever met till she saw the horses. I put her on Daisy, gentlest mare on the ranch, and Abby just came alive. Huge smile. Sarah cried. And there's Diane, lurking at the edge, face red as a barn, asking if I had permits. I handed her my insurance paperwork and offered her lemonade. She turned it down like I'd offered poison. 3 days later, bam, my first official HOA violation. From her desk. Not the county. That's when I knew it wasn't about rules. It was personal. That's when things got real ugly. Noise complaints, zoning accusations, letters about my bees, claims my goats were menacing the neighborhood. You ever hear a goat menacing anybody? But their fatal mistake was that demolition notice. Instead of panicking, I went full detective, rifled through dusty boxes in my attic. Turns out my great-granddad had leased a big chunk of land to the town way back in the 1920s Shernud in 49 for 99 years. Lease expired last week. So now, legally, all that community stuff clubhouse, tennis court was mine again. My lawyer, Camila Ortega Duff as nails, sharp as a tack, helped me draft a new lease at triple the rent, and I hand-delivered to Diane. She about fainted, shouting for lawyers, with the HOA board in chaos behind her. After that, the neighborhood got weird. Folks who used to wave at me wouldn't meet my eye. Phil Jacobs, board member, crossed the street with his dog instead of passing my fence. Jessica Crane, who used to bring her son to feed my goats, yanked him away when she saw me. But Sarah and Abby kept coming by. Sarah confided Diane was threatening to cut off her access to the HOA Kids Fund if she didn't stop visiting. I told her, this ranch is for every who needn't let her scare you. So we started having quiet gatherings after dark campfires, esmores, pony rides under the stars. Nothing fancy, just real community. Then this new guy shows up, Ethan Wells, land assessor, Broncos jacket, said the HOA hired him to check the boundaries. We walked the fence line. He leaned in and said, for what it's worth, you're in the right. They're trespassing. On his way out, he hinted there were whispers about recalling Diane. Next thing I know, some of her people try to come onto my ranch me ranch hand. Louise told them to back off, got shoved, and deputies had to step in. That's when I realized this wasn't ending with letters. The next morning, city officials and some guys in suits roll up, slap a cease, and desist on my door for community distress. Camila just laughed total bluff, but I could tell the HOA was getting desperate. So, I nailed a sign to the clubhouse fence at sunrise. Lease expired. Trespassers prosecuted. Somebody chained the doors shut, stapled an orange notice to the entrance, and local news showed up just in time to catch Diane throwing a meltdown while the cops just shrugged. The power was shifting, but right as I thought I'd won, the county inspector called, said my barn was unsafe for public events, shut us down. No lessons, no Abby, no nothing. That one stung. Sarah brought me bread and said, "You're not alone." That night, walking my empty barn, I overheard a couple of teenagers sneaking onto the tennis courts, joking about burning the place down, blaming Diane for ruining everything. That's when I realized I had to go all in. I gave Camila the green light to go. Public sent the news, everything, old leases, videos, statements from families. The story blew up, and suddenly support poured in from all over town. Diane tried to sue me for emotional distress, demanding $500,000. I did one TV interview, just told the truth, ended with, "Thank you for reminding me what this land stands for, not tradition, but community. I'm not going anywhere." The segment went viral. But right before the recall vote, someone set fire to my tool shed, lost everything. They found a gas can, a threat nailed to my chicken coop. Next time we won't miss. Spent that night patrolling the ranch with a shotgun across my lap, thinking Diane might not have struck the match, but she'd stirred up enough hate to make it possible. 3 days later, we forced the recall flyers, door knocking, volunteers everywhere. Helen Douglas, the oldest resident in town, signed first, told me, "Just don't turn into her." When the votes were counted, 76% wanted Diane out. We cheered, but the victory barely lasted an hour. The county clerk called a new claim on my land from Diane's cousin Jonathan. Some old deed, probably fake, but enough to drag me back to court. That's when something wild happened. The community stood up for me. Residents filed affidavits. Phil Jacobs handed over a folder of emails proving Diane had lied and sabotaged things for years. Camila filed a suit for fraud and harassment, called in the DA, and the whole town crowdfunded my legal fees. The mayor, local businesses, even kids wrote letters. In court, the judge shredded Jonathan's claim and ruled in my favor, restoring the ranch for good. Diane got subpoenaed, exposed for all her mess, ordered to pay nearly $500,000 in damages. She left the courthouse in tears. A few months later, Carter Ranch became a community park, partnered with a totally reformed HOA, Helen as president, Sarah as treasurer, Phil doing what he always did best. Every weekend, Abby leads pony rides with that big smile, the garden's open, and Billy the rooster still wakes up half the town. Now, I walk this land with neighbors, not enemies. When they gave me 72 hours to tear everything down, I gave them a lifetime of resistance. When they tripled my pain, I tripled their rent, their shame, and my community. So now I gotta ask, where would you stand? What's fair? What's right? Drop your thoughts below, share your own story, because sometimes standing your ground gives the whole town the guts to stand with you.